Good morning and welcome to this weekly markets update from AGM Markets. Today is the 6th of May 2014. What we'll do today is go through some technical analysis on Euro Dollar Cable, Dollar Swiss, Aussie and Gold. Just to review what's been going on in the markets over the last sort of week and give some sort of outlook for this week coming. I will not make any trade calls or recommendations in this video. You do trade at your own risk. If you could please read our full disclaimer on our website at www.agmmarkets.com, then that would be appreciated. For any new followers out there, we have 3 moving averages on each of these charts. The red one's a 50 simple moving average, the purple is 100 simple moving average, and the gold is a 200 simple moving average. Okay then, first of all, let's have a look at the Forex calendar for the weeks. This is just on Forex Factory. It is Tuesday today. Reason being, it was a UK bank holiday yesterday. Yes, I mean, what happened yesterday, just in terms of sort of high impact news. So overnight in Aussie, we had the building approvals that came in weaker than expected. And then we had some Chinese HSBC final manufacturing PMI just came in just below expected. Then we had some sort of mid-tier data, but then the main highlight was US ISM non-manufacturing PMI, and that came in at 55.2 versus the forecast, which was 54.3. So yeah, for today, we've already had some sort of mid-tier data out this morning, but it all came in better than expected. I'm just shooting this after 9 o'clock, and with the final services PMI come out in line, 53.1 there. So yeah, it's some better than expected data previously in terms of Spanish services PMI and Spanish unemployment change. In terms of high impact news, for the rest of the day, you got the UK services PMI, that's the main sort of feature data, which is at 9:30. Forecast 57.9 there, just a bit better than the previous. At 1:30 GMT, we've got US trade balance. For anyone that trades the loonie, we've got the trade balance as well. At 3 PM, we have Canadian IV PMI data out as well. Then overnight, for anyone that trades New Zealand dollar, you got the unemployment change quarter-on-quarter numbers and the unemployment rate. And then on Wednesday overnight, we have more Australian data. You got the retail sales month-on-month figures. At 1:30, you got Canadian building permits month-on-month. At 3 PM, you got Fed Chairman Chair Lady Janet Yellen testifying. And then on Thursday overnight, more Australian data. So you got the unemployment rate, you got the employment change numbers, big figures there. And then you also got Chinese trade balance numbers as well. At 12 PM, it starts to get very interesting because the UK asset purchase facility and the official bank rates coming out, so forecasted to stay the same there, both figures. And at 12:45 at the Eurozone, you got the minimum bid rate. That's expected to stay at those lows as well of 0.25%. And then at 1:30 you got the ECB press conference, and then you have the weekly jobless claims coming out at the same time expected, lower numbers there from the previous 344,000, 328,000 there. At 2:30 we have Janet Yellen testifying again. And then to round the week off, more Australian, well, not data, but you got the RBA monetary policy statement coming out, and more Chinese data. So you got the CPI year on year there. It's expected to drop to 2.1% from the previous 2.4%. And then out of the UK, again at 9:30 with manufacturing production numbers there, the month-on-month figures expected to drop to 0.3% from the previous 1.0%. At 1:30 have more Canadian data, so the unemployment change and the unemployment rate. And then to round the week off in terms of high impact news from the US, we've got the JOLTS job opening figures expected at 4.21 million. So just above the 4.17 million. Okay, then that's all so a fair amount of data out this week. Got some big things as well. So coming out of the ECB and the UK as well. Quite a lot of Aussie data, Canadian. So some interesting stuff. I mean, not a massive amount of US data, but still, there's still quite a bit out there. And well, I suppose you got Fed Chairman Chair Lady Yellen speaking couple of times as well, so it should be interesting in terms of the data, etc. Okay, now let's have a look at the charts. So I've got clean charts on all of these. Let's have a brief look at the weekly. What have we been talking about for the last sort of few weeks? It's all been about this fib move here. Remember, from the low of the year to the high, uptrend, retracement down towards the sort of 50%, 61.8% range. So I'm just going to take this 78.6 fib off here. Let's just keep it nice and simple for this video. And yeah, remember what I spoke about last sort of couple of weeks. You can see last week's candle, nice sort of bullish candle there, and it's just looked like it wants to grind higher and take out that 0% line, which is at one spot 39.66 is of course the key line in the sand. Well, in terms of a key round number on this chart, which is of course the 139. Well, the 139.50s you got around there as well. So it should be very interesting if we get up there, and it does look like it will, and then it really could fly up, to be honest with you, because there's no sort of major resistances. I mean, I suppose you've got these sort of two spikes here where I'm hovering over my cursor, and where does that sort of come in? That is yeah, the one sort of 41.50s, I suppose. You can see there, so in 2010 we had spike highs and closes below, and in 2011 we came up, tested it, and we sold off aggressively. So that'll definitely be a big number, but of course we're still a long way away from that. But in terms of this sort of weekly chart, it's still for me all about just keeping this in mind. Bear in mind we do these videos on a weekly basis. It's all about just keeping the sort of smaller setups in play, just to keep in mind. Let's move it to the daily. It's the same setup as on the weekly, and you can see it a bit more clear though. Nice sort of candle action, and of course what we've been speaking about is this smaller fib within that bigger fib as well, and that move looks like it's pretty much done and dusted, to be honest with you. The 0% got taken out. We had a few sort of tests at this 50% level at the one spot 37.87s, and nice rotation towards the upside. Came up, came back down, tested the 50-day moving average, and it's just rotating higher towards the sort of 139.50s. I mean, the other sort of level, which is just above at the minute in terms of the sort of round numbers, is the 139 handle. So that could act as nice sort of support if we get any sort of retracement. For example, let's say it comes up and does test this 39.50s. If it does start to reverse, it could come back down and then test the 139s and pop back up. So yeah, very technical stuff on Euro. In terms of the short, well, I mean, one other thing to keep an eye out for, sorry, on this daily chart is you've got a lovely uptrend support here as well, which is still holding. It's been playing out very technically, nice sort of confluence levels as well with those two fibs just previously mentioned. So yeah, in terms of the shorter term charts of the 4 hour, I mean, we just spoke about that fib there. That's been playing out lovely last week as well, and the previous couple of weeks, to be fair. Yeah, in terms of shorter term stuff, I'm not going to be personally looking at fibs really. I mean, on the 1 hour chart, there's nothing major that comes out there. And in terms of sort of day trading, a lot of people I would have thought would be looking at that sort of swing low there, because obviously we're having a nice up move today on Euro. So sort of fib from a day low to day high, I would have thought a lot of people would be keeping an eye out. But no, for me, I'm going to keep an eye on the round numbers this week, definitely. I think that 139 handle should be very interesting. Bear in mind, it coincides with that previous sort of swing high there as well. So if we get some sort of retracement, that should be an interesting level to look out for. But then, yeah, of course, the key resistance is at 139.50. So 2 big levels there, which I think should be in focus for this week, and we should get some interesting action over the next couple of days on that. Cable on the weekly is still continuing to grind high. It really is in grind high mode. I mean, it's the last 6 Well, the last 5 weekly candles have all been green, and this current weekly candle is green as well. And it really is just eyeing this 2009 high here, which comes in at around the 1.7030 marker there. So keep an eye out on that, but also keep an eye out, because we still haven't reached it yet, and that is the 170 handle. I think I spoke about in last week's video actually, to keep an eye on that as well. But obviously it's just a massive round number, big psychological level, and it just looks like it wants to come up and test it. The other level to keep an eye out for is the 169.50s, because that's just shy of that at the minute. So similar to Euro, we're looking at 2 big levels, and same thing on cable really in terms of this weekly chart. If we're going to get any sort of resistance, those are the two, they're the next sort of 2 levels to definitely keep an eye out for. You can see that as well on the daily. It looks like it's going to come up and test one of them, I'd have thought. So there's no other sort of major resistances in the near term future. It's just those 2 big round numbers I'd personally keep an eye out for. Just a quick flip on the monthly actually, because this is a big fib to keep an eye out for. Of course, we're still a long way away from it, but it's definitely one that if we do, I mean obviously we're about 300 pips away from it, but just keep that in mind if we do get any sort of big tear up this week, and that one sort of 73.31s, because that will be a huge level I'd have thought. Interestingly enough, these 169, so I've done 169.60 and not 169.50. Just quickly change that. Interestingly, on this monthly chart, these 169.50 sort of 170 levels, a key level back in sort of like 90, 97, 98, 99. Big resistance there. You can see it tested it, and we really sold off all the way down to sort of 135 levels. That's a massive level there, you can see. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Also, you've got this 100-month moving average coinciding with these next 2 levels as well. So keep an eye on that. We should be interested to see if we do come up there this week. It looks like it will. I mean, we're very near it already. We're already about 20 pips away from the 169.50. So keep an eye on the action. I'll definitely be watching that like a hawk. But yeah, in terms of the other thing to look at in cable, in terms of sort of shorter term stuff, nothing majorly of interest. I mean, we've had these sort of lovely fibs playing out. We've spoken about these numerous times. You've got that one there, and then if you extend the high, these are sort of obvious dips, nice fibs playing out. There isn't really an obvious one on cable forming. I mean, I think this is the previous one. I spoke about this in last week's video, but I personally wasn't that interesting, so I don't think it was that smoother of an uptrend, but it played out very nicely off of the 61.8 there. You can see nice spike. You've also got the confluence with the 50 SMA as well. So I suppose the next one that people will be looking at, I'd have thought, would be that one there. So that's the bounce where we've come off. So if we do get any sort of retracement now, and it looks like it may stall a bit, then keep an eye on that one. I'd personally will, because you can see it a bit clearer there on the 1 hour as well. And interesting enough, this 50% coincides with a nice bit of resistance here as well. You can see where I'm hovering over the cursor at that 50 SMA there. So that's the short-term thing, definitely be in terms if we do get some sort of retracement now. But in terms of doing this on a weekly video, the 2 big levels definitely for me are those 169.50 and 170 round numbers there. Dollar Swiss on the weekly, what have we been talking about? It's all about these 2 big setups here. So you've got that big fib off the 61.8. It looks like it just wants to grind, keep on grinding low. Those long swing shorts will be wanting to see this press all the way down to the 0.70 level, but then the counter move on this one, in terms of this weekly chart, is this move here. And that 50% comes in at 0.8519. So of course we're about a couple hundred pips away from that. But it's just good to keep it in mind. In terms of last week weekly candle, definitely is a bearish candle, and you can already see that this week, well, yesterday we started to sell off, and today as well. The next sort of key level, I mean, well, the 2 levels we've been speaking about really are these sort of the 87 handle. So you can see that acted as lovely support, and then Currently where we're sitting at the minute is the 0.8750s. And you can see we're pretty much sitting on that as we speak. We had nice previous support at that level. And if we do get a bounce up, then of course keep an eye on that 50-week moving average. But definitely the pressure is on this dollar Swiss. And if we're going to get any sort of pop up, then it'll be off one of those two levels, I'd have thought. If you flip it to the daily, you can see it a bit clearer there as well. So we had a nice spike off that 0.87 and then the 0.8750, a nice a little bit of a pop there, but you can see not that strong. So today's daily candle will be very interesting, I'd have thought. If we're going to get any pop up, it really does need to close above that level today. If it closes below, then we really could get a quick sharp sell-off. But then of course the 0.87 handle will be the next one wanting to hold. So definitely keep an eye on those two levels this week. In terms of the shorter term stuff, interestingly, actually on this 4 hour, we have the previous 4 hour candle did close below this 87.50, and you can already see this current 4 hour candle, we've come up, tested this 87.50s, and the sellers are trying to keep it below. So very interesting action already on this dollar Swiss, and yeah, it really is the key line in the sand, definitely for over the next couple of days, or maybe for the rest of the week, the 0.8750s. If we do get any sort of bounce up, then I'll personally be sort of keeping an eye on this sort of fib move here. You can probably see it a bit clear on the daily actually as well. Nice little downtrend there. And the reason I'm looking at that one is because the previous one played out quite nicely. So you can see that one there. Came up, tested sort of 50%, 61.8% range, and we sold off. So the next sort of swing low is this one here, previous swing high. You can see it a bit clear on the 4 hour chart as well. Nice sort of action of 61.8 there. So if we do get any bounce up, then I thought sellers will come in at that level, but I'd be very surprised if it does close above that 87.50s, to be honest with you, because the pressure is definitely on that. Aussie on the weekly. What have we been saying? It looks like it just wants to keep on grinding higher. We had last week's candle, pretty much a doji, so a lot of indecision there, but the lower wick is bigger than the upper wick. So I'd not be surprised to see this current weekly candle keep on sort of grinding higher, and then we're looking towards this sort of 100-week moving average here. And also interestingly, this sort of fib move here sort of coincides with the sort of the previous swing high as well, and this sort of 100-week moving average is floating in between that 50%, 61.8% range as well. The recent resistance, why we've sort of had a sort of mini sell-off here, is because of the 0.94 handle, remember. So you can see that's the next sort of big sort of resistance zone on this Aussie chart. In terms of the shorter term stuff, nothing major of interest in terms of the daily. You can see it's just all about just sort of playing the support and resistances here. So the 0.9250 is the current sort of support level. That sort of holding this Aussie chart. So lovely line in the sand there. Nice price action off that. It looks like we get a nice sort of rotation up towards the 0.94 level. For any of you that trade in the shorter term price action and like the 50 pip sort of increments, then keep an eye out on the 0.93 as well, because that's the current resistance. You can see that it's currently testing that, but I do think we'll get above that and definitely come up towards the 0.94 level this week. If you think, so remember the last sort of few weeks videos, I've been talking about if it's going to retrace on this sort of weekly, then it will come towards this sort of bigger fib move here. So selling any sort of bounce up may not be a bad idea. And in that case, on the daily, so I'm just going to get rid of these. Actually, I'll leave them on because they may be a nice sort of confluence area. Selling any sort of bounce up could be quite interesting. And if we draw the sort of 0.92 and 93.50s, you can see it sort of coincides in between that 50% and 61.8% range there. So any sort of bounce up, I'd have thought, I'm definitely keeping an eye on this fib this week, because I think we could get some interesting action around the sort of 50% level, or the 0.93 50s for any sort of nice selling opportunity there. And if you're more of an aggressive seller and you want to look at the more recent swing dips, you can see this one's currently holding at the minute from that sort of the mid-April high. That's the 21st of April high. You can see down towards the 1st of May low. We're currently getting held off here at the 61.8 and that 100 SMA. But personally for me, I'd rather look at the more obvious swing high there, which you can see, which is valid on the weekly and on the daily and on the 4 hour there as well. So as I think it will probably come up to this 50%. If we currently get any sort of interesting retracement here, this could be a nice little fib move here. You can see that clear on the 1 hour maybe as well. And that it does look quite an interesting move. So you can see we've got some nice previous support here around at the 50% as well. So if we get a bit of a retracement there, then this sort of 50%, which coincides with a nice round number as well, at the 0.9250s, that could be a nice little bounce area there for a grind higher towards the 0.9350s. Okay, that's the Forex done. Let's have a look at the gold chart. Gold, what have we been speaking about? There's only this one setup that I'm majorly interested in, and it's been holding very nicely, very technically. It's still waiting to pop up, but it's definitely a key level. These sort of 1286s here, which is the 50% retracement of the 2013 lows to the 2014 high. Last couple of weeks candles, nice bullish action here. You can see it's spiked below this 1286 and held above that, but you can see it's struggling to get above this 50-week moving average, but you can see today we are above that. And if we get a weekly close above this 50-week moving average this week, then I really do think we'll fly up and test these 1392s in the near future. But that's definitely the move to keep an eye out for there. You can see on the daily, the 1286 hasn't sort of been the key sort of bounce level here. You can see the sort of 1280s, the more sort of round number there has been a better level in terms of this daily chart, in terms of the candle action. So you can see we haven't had a daily candle close below that. But the round numbers, you obviously know I'm a big fan of the round numbers. You can see the 1270s is a nice level as well. I remember speaking about that. I think that was in last week's video or the week before. That was a lovely support around here on the shorter term charts as well. So it's a nice sort of range there. You've got the 1270, 1280 range. If we do come back down here again, which may be unlikely, that's definitely a lovely range. And it's been, well, for the last couple of weeks, it's been a great sort of couple of great levels there. But yeah, you can see on this daily chart, if we're going to get any more momentum towards the upside, we do need to get above this 50-day moving average here. You can see that's the previous area where it got capped at. You can see yesterday's daily candle came up, tested and closed below, so it still is struggling at this key sort of moving average. And in terms of the shorter term charts, nothing massively major. I mean, for me, I'm just personally looking at the sort of the round numbers here. So I mean, the other one, I could just looking at the sort of 1290s and just see what happens if you get any nice sort of candle action. Then see what happens, because it could be a nice sort of buying opportunity. But definitely the bias for me is towards the upside. If we do get a real big rip up this week on gold, then the counter move for me is definitely this one here. So that's the fib from the high of 2014 to the sort of this recent swing low of 2014, and that 50% coincides with previous resistance as well. So that's definitely a nice move there. We should get some interesting action if we do get up, and it coincides with a nice round number as well at the 1330s. So definitely a key level if we do get a bounce up there this week, which it looks like it could definitely happen this week, I'd have thought. Okay then, that is all for today. I hope you found that video useful. If there's any other pairs that you want me to have a look at next week, then feel free to comment under the YouTube channel, or send us a tweet or a Twitter feed, which is at AGM Markets. I hope you have a great rest of the week trading, and I'll catch you next Monday. Thanks for watching.